When we talk about addiction to a person, most people imagine emotions, love, passion, chemistry. But the truth is colder than that. The brain doesn't attach because of romance or destiny. It attaches because of patterns, rewards, and dopamine-driven loops that are older than civilization itself. And today, I will show you how these loops work. Dopamine is not happiness. It's the molecule of anticipation, of wanting, of craving. And this distinction is the key to understanding how someone becomes emotionally and chemically attached to you. So let's begin with the reward system. Inside your brain, there is a circuit built to signal value and motivate action. It connects the ventral tegmental area, the nucleus accumbens, and the prefrontal cortex. When something feels exciting, risky, or emotionally intense, this circuit lights up. It tells your brain, watch closely, this matters. Normally, the system reacts to food, novelty, danger, social approval. But the human brain doesn't care if a reward is biological or emotional. If a person triggers the same pattern, excitement, attention, unpredictability, your mind labels them as a source of reward, not a soulmate, a stimulus. And this is the moment attraction becomes neurochemical. But here's the real secret. Your brain doesn't get addicted to the person. It gets addicted to the feeling the person creates. This is where like, want, and craving become three very different states. Like, pleasure and comfort. You enjoy their presence, their voice, their attention. But pleasure alone doesn't create addiction. It fades. Wanting is stronger. It's motivational energy, the drive to seek the person again. Dopamine activates here, not from the reward itself, but from the expectation of the reward. This is why thinking about someone feels more intense than actually seeing them. But then comes craving. Craving is the moment the brain starts depending on the anticipation itself, when the absence of response hurts more than the presence of affection, when waiting for a message feels like hunger, when silence becomes emotional withdrawal. This is not love. This is dependency, and the brain reacts to emotional deprivation the same way it reacts to drugs, because the formula is simple. Intensity plus unpredictability equals dopamine loop. Once formed, this loop doesn't care about logic, boundaries, or emotional health. Dopamine never asks, is this good for me? It only asks, where is the next hit? If you're still with me, like this video so more people can understand what's really happening inside their minds.
Let me give you a human example, something almost everyone has lived through. Imagine this. You meet someone. You talk for hours. The energy is perfect, warm, exciting, a little electric. They text you first. They reply fast. For a moment, you feel chosen. That's the reward phase. Your brain marks this person as emotionally meaningful. You don't love them, but you anticipate them. Then something changes. Their messages slow down. They stop reacting with the same enthusiasm. They disappear for a day, maybe two. They watch your stories but don't write. You see them online, but they don't answer you. This is deprivation, the moment the dopamine loop begins to tighten. And now something strange happens inside your mind. You start thinking about them more when they pull away. You check your phone. You rewrite their last text in your head. You wonder what you did wrong. You feel tension, hunger, the desire for the next hit. And then, finally, they come back with a short message, a compliment, a voice note, something small but emotionally loaded, and it hits you 10 times stronger than it should. Not because this person is special, but because your dopamine has been building up in silence. Now you're in the loop, waiting, wanting, suffering, then reward, and the reward feels like relief. This is the moment the addiction forms. Everyone believes it's chemistry, but in reality, it's intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism used in casinos, toxic relationships, and social media. Let me show you how emotional addiction is created, not by love, not by destiny, but by technique. And some people use this technique very consciously. Psychologists like Robert Cialdini describe this pattern as intermittent reinforcement, a cycle of giving and taking attention that keeps the other person emotionally hooked. Let me give you an example, something darker, something you've probably lived through without realizing what was happening. Imagine you meet someone who reads you quickly, too quickly. Their eyes stay on you just a moment longer than normal. Not enough to alarm you, but enough to make your body respond. Paul Ekman wrote about this, how small, subtle expressions can make two nervous systems synchronize without words. A manipulator knows this instinctively. They mirror your tone, your posture, your emotional rhythm. They adjust their breathing to yours. Classic NLP, matching, pacing, then leading. You feel understood, you feel seen, but what you're feeling is not connection, it's alignment. Then comes the hook. They give you small, precise emotional rewards, a compliment that hits exactly where your insecurity lives, a message that arrives at the perfect moment, a look that feels too intimate for the stage you're in. These don't happen by accident. They are measured doses. That's the dopamine reward phase. Warm, seductive, calculated. And then they pull back. Their replies slow. Their tone cools. They forget to answer. They cancel a plan with a soft, almost affectionate excuse. This isn't distance, it's strategy. This is the deprivation phase, the moment where your dopamine shifts from pleasure to tension. You start worrying, overthinking, checking your phone, replaying their last words, trying to understand what changed. Your mind becomes busy, restless, hungry. This is where manipulators gain control by creating emotional imbalance, by giving warmth and then taking it away. And then, exactly when your internal pressure reaches its peak, they come back. Not with an apology, not with an explanation, but with one small, intimate spark, a midnight miss you, a compliment, a message with emotional weight. This small gesture feels huge because your anticipation has been starving, and now you're in the cycle, waiting, wanting, tension, then relief. You bond not with the person, but with their rhythm. Your brain begins to mistake instability for passion. It thinks intensity is love, but intensity is just chemistry. Chemistry produced by inconsistency. This is how emotional addiction is created. Slow mirroring, careful reward, intentional withdrawal. Not romance, control. And once you fall into this loop, even a tiny bit of attention from them feels like oxygen. If you're still with me, stay for the next part, because now we go into the smallest, invisible triggers, glances, pauses, touches, timing that spike dopamine without permission. Let me show you the real triggers, the ones that actually make people attach, return, and stay mentally engaged. Not tricks, not games, but the subtle psychological currents under every modern relationship. These triggers don't work in a moment. They work over time, quietly, precisely. Trigger 1, the precision compliment. A precision compliment doesn't flatter you.
It exposes you. It touches a very specific part of your identity, the part you protect. Here's a real-life moment you may recognize. You say something a little sharp, a little too honest, and they smile, not judging, not surprised, just aware. And they say, "You hide your intensity so well, it's almost a shame." You feel seen, not in a cute way, in a dangerous, intimate way. Dopamine rises not because they liked something about you, but because they named something you don't show anyone. Being recognized is far more addictive than being admired. Trigger 2, the controlled slowdown. This doesn't mean ignoring someone. It means changing the tempo in a way that forces your mind to lean in. For example, you've been exchanging messages, fast, aligned, effortless. Then they slow slightly, not dramatically, just enough for you to notice the absence of the rhythm. You reread the last message. You wonder why the energy shifted. You think, did I miss something? This microgap creates psychological forward motion. You start doing the emotional work, and doing the work means you invest. People value what they invest energy into. Trigger 3, the unfinished confession. One of the most powerful narrative triggers. Someone tells you something that sounds like a confession, but stops before the meaning lands. A human example. You're talking late at night. They say something like, "There was a week in my life when everything almost collapsed. I've never told this to anyone." And then they change the subject. Your mind stays open. Your curiosity stays turned on. Your emotional body stays activated. You don't want them. You want the rest of the story. Unfinished emotional content is neurologically irresistible. Trigger 4, the temperature shift. This is not hot and cold. That is childish. This is warm, then neutral, then warm again. Imagine, you share something meaningful. They respond gently, attentively. You feel the connection. And the next day, they're simply quieter, more neutral, not distant, just less emotionally available. You feel it. Your body feels it before your mind does. Then 2 days later, the warmth returns, soft and honest, as if nothing happened. Your nervous system locks on to the fluctuation. Dopamine is tied to change, not stability. Trigger 5, the selective door. They don't open their whole world. They open one room and let you stand in the doorway. Example, you ask a personal question. They answer, but only partially, with a detail that feels intimate, yet incomplete. You walk away, feeling special, but also curious, wanting one more layer. Selective openness is more addictive than full transparency because the mind attaches to what it doesn't fully have. Trigger 6, the reset moment. This is the climax of the cycle. After small tension, ambiguity, slowdowns, unfinished moments, comes the reset. You've been overthinking a bit, feeling the shift, wondering if something changed. And then, at the perfect moment, they send a message that is genuinely warm, simple, human. Something like, "Hey, I liked our conversation the other night. It stayed with me." Nothing dramatic, just clarity, and your whole body exhales. The relief creates a large dopamine release, far bigger than any initial pleasure. Your brain learns, with them, tension always leads to comfort. This is how emotional loops form, not from grand gestures, but from micro patterns. Precision, then ambiguity, then reset. The person becomes sticky in your mind, not because they're extraordinary, but because their timing interacts with your nervous system in a very old, very animal way. If you're still with me, The next part will show you the architecture behind all of this, the push-pull dynamic, the mechanism that doesn't just create attraction, but turns it into obsession.
The push-pull dynamic isn't just a strategy, it's a conditioning loop. Not about love, not about interest, but about training your nervous system to respond to another person's rhythm. To understand it, you need a real story, not theory, a human pattern. Let me give you one. She met him during a period in her life when she felt stable, not lonely, not desperate, simply open. He wasn't the loudest person in the room, but he had a way of observing her that felt deliberate, measured. In the beginning, he was calm, consistent, predictable in the most comforting way. He remembered details she didn't expect anyone to remember. The way she corrected her own sentences, the way she paused before answering when she cared too much about her words. That was the first pull. Precision-level attention. Not intimacy, but an invitation. They talked late at night. Not every night, but often enough to create a rhythm. He asked questions that made her feel like she was revealing herself without actually saying anything too vulnerable. Then came the first push. One evening, he disappeared mid-conversation. No explanation, no goodnight, no closure. At first, she brushed it off. Then she found herself rereading their last messages, looking for signs of a shift. The next day, he was polite, but distant. Shorter sentences, less color in his tone. Her body noticed the difference before her mind did. Another day passed, then he reappeared, warm, present, focused again, as if nothing happened. That was the pull, and it hit harder because of the gap. From then on, the rhythm became a pattern. A week of deep, flowing conversations, then a drop, a slowdown, a neutral tone, a small coldness you could feel, but not name, followed by a return, gentle, precise, emotionally attuned. The push made her insecure. The pull made her relieved. And relief feels like affection when you don't see the pattern. One night, he shared something that sounded like a confession. There was a time I trusted the wrong person. I'm careful now, but I like how I feel talking to you. Then he stopped, changed the subject, left her with an open emotional loop. She filled the silence with imagination, not because he was deep, but because he was incomplete. She became addicted, not to him, but to the resolution he kept giving and taking away. This is how emotional craving forms, not through intensity, but through managed inconsistency. And this brings us back to the mechanics.
Push-pull works because it trains your nervous system in small, almost invisible steps. It always begins with warmth, a steady tone, focused attention, the kind of presence that makes your body soften. You feel understood, safe enough to exhale. And then, quietly, the energy shifts. Not rejection, just less warmth. A slower reply, a neutral tone where yesterday there was color. Your brain doesn't panic, but it starts searching, trying to restore the connection it just learned to enjoy. This is where obsession begins, not from certainty, but from ambiguity. Humans don't get addicted to closeness. They get addicted to almost. And then the warmth returns. But it's just the contrast talking. From tension to relief, from push to pull. Small, ambiguous moments keep the loop alive. Half confessions, incomplete thoughts, tiny glimpses of honesty that feel rare. Your mind overvalues what comes in small doses. That's why push-pull works. Not because the person is special, but because your brain learns to seek comfort from the same place that creates tension. It doesn't feel like conditioning, but it is. And once craving forms, logic isn't part of the equation anymore.
The most powerful part of emotional addiction isn't the attention you receive. It's the illusion that the connection is unique, special, meant for you. But nothing manipulates the brain faster than the feeling of being chosen in a way others are not. Let me show you how the illusion forms. It starts with small, selective moments, details that feel too precise to be accidental. A phrase you've never told anyone, a reaction they just seem to understand, a comment that matches a thought you didn't say out loud. It feels intimate, but it's only specificity, not depth. Then comes the contrast. They're open one moment and unreadable the next. Warm yesterday, opaque today. Your brain fills these gaps with meaning, not because meaning exists, but because the mind hates empty spaces. This is how it sounds in your head. Maybe they only open up with me. Maybe I'm different for them. Maybe they trust me more than others. But these are not truths. These are interpretations built on scarcity. When someone offers tiny fragments of vulnerability, your mind assumes they're rare. When someone shares a single personal detail, you imagine hidden layers behind it. And when someone mixes distance with sudden emotional clarity, the contrast feels like depth. But depth isn't created, it's projected. The illusion of specialness isn't a reflection of who they are. It's a reflection of how your nervous system responds to being half included, half excluded again and again. From push to pull, from warmth to silence, from closeness to gap. Your brain confuses this instability for emotional meaning. And once you believe you're the exception, you stop seeing the pattern. Because no one wants to question a feeling that makes them feel chosen. But the truth is simple. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to the fantasy your mind builds in the empty spaces they leave behind. If you're ready, the next part will show how craving locks in and why the brain will protect the illusion even when it hurts. There is a version of the illusion of specialness that has nothing to do with dating. It comes from the world of intelligence work, from people trained to make another human believe, you are the only one I trust. This isn't romance. This is extraction. There was a man in his agency they called the quiet room, not because he was silent, but because people walked into a conversation with him and walked out believing they had revealed their soul. His method was simple, precise, and disturbingly effective. He never appeared curious. Curiosity triggers defenses. He appeared familiar, as if he already knew a person's emotional architecture before they even spoke. When someone mentioned a childhood detail, he didn't ask follow-up questions. He offered a parallel story, similar enough to create a sense of connection, vague enough to avoid verification. This wasn't intimacy, it was psychological camouflage. He spoke in a tone that suggested shared experience, shared pain, shared worldview, not with intensity, but with a sense of inevitability. And then came the hook. He would lower his voice slightly and say, "People like us learn to hide the same things. That's why I read you so easily." This is the level of dark psychology. He wasn't mirroring a person's emotions. He was mirroring their shadow, the part they believe no one can see. Most people don't get addicted to validation. They get addicted to recognition, especially recognition of the parts they keep hidden. And that is what he gave them. The feeling that someone understood their inner fractures,
without them ever naming them.
The mirror that watches back. Here's the truth no one wants to face. You don't fall for a person, you fall for the reflection they create inside you. A reflection shaped from your wounds, your hopes, your unmet needs. Every push-pull dynamic is just a mirror tightening its frame. Every silence is a place where your mind paints what it wants to see. Every sudden moment of warmth is a spotlight on the version of yourself you wish you could be. But this mirror has a price, because the more you stare into it, the less you see of the real world, and the more you disappear into the fantasy. Here's the part people never understand. It's not them who becomes addictive, it's you, captured by your own projection, your own hunger, your own shadow. And once the mirror starts reflecting your deepest cracks, it also begins shaping them. So the real question is not, why am I attached to them? But what part of me are they reflecting back that I don't want to face alone? If you can answer that, the illusion breaks. If you can't, the mirror owns you. How to break the loop. Let's end with something real, something useful, something most people never figure out until it's too late. Emotional addiction doesn't break when you block someone, or ignore them, or tell yourself you're done. It breaks in one moment, when you stop rewarding the deprivation. Every time you wait, you reinforce the hook. Every time you hope, you strengthen the loop. Every time you create meaning in their silence, you tie the knot tighter. So here's the antidote. You don't pull away from them. You pull away from your own fantasy of them. You stop asking, what did they mean? And start asking, what am I making this mean? Because the addiction isn't to the person, it's to the psychological story your mind built around them. Break the story, and the spell dissolves. And when you finally see the pattern, you stop being the one who chases the hit and become the one who recognizes the trap. Next time someone gives you crumbs, ask yourself, do I want the person, or do I want the feeling I created in their absence? Only one of those can love you back, and it's not them. Be still. The world will move around you.